I like the wreath in the background. It's a nice touch.
Oh yeah, I didn't put it there, but
All right. Do you want to bring it in? Do you want me to bring it in?
you bring this one in. I'll bring it tomorrow.
All right. I can hear TV on in the background just a little bit.
Oh yeah, I meant to mute that. Thank you.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. We are now 8 weeks into the college football season, which means we have 8 weeks of tape on some players, which is a pretty substantial size. And we're into conference play, some big old matchups, a couple big ones to go over in this podcast before we get too deep into helmet stickers and whatnot. But again, Dalton, welcome back to the show once again. I'm excited to dive into this, give out some helmet stickers. Let's talk about it. But how's the United States treating you now, almost a week in?
So I'm wearing glasses, guys, and if anybody's watching this on YouTube, this is why I'm wearing glasses. So the United States is treating me with an eczema outbreak right now, or an eczema flare-up. It's not an outbreak because it's not like it's contagious, but my eyes look like I don't even know how to describe this. Usually it just looks like I got into a 30-second altercation with Mike Tyson, but this looks like a couple rounds with Mike in the ring. It's not very good, so I'm wearing the glasses to kind of hide it. Other than that, things have been all right so far. I'm just surviving, trying to survive at least without the wife and kiddo here.
Yeah, that's always tough. That would suck.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
But it was a good weekend of college football and good week watching the NFL this weekend. So we'll take that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it again. Tuesday episodes, always our helmet sticker episodes, talking about some of these bigger prospects who really stood out and put their team on their back. 2025 draft prospects as well. It's a draft podcast, just the way to do it. But let's talk about, before we dive into a couple of big games, we have to talk about a quarterback that we've kind of danced around a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's probably time to have a conversation about Cam Ward.
Yep.
For what it's worth, I did think his game against Louisville was probably his most consistent game of the season since week 1 against Florida. The past 2 weeks, he dug himself deep, and the turnover-worthy plays spiked back up again. The fumbles spiked back up again. So, but this was a pretty clean game overall, but his game is still really frustrating when trying to translate it to what he's going to be asked to do in an NFL offense. So I don't know. I'll let you talk about that part a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the entire thing with him is if you drop 8 and you give him 5.5 seconds to find somebody, he's going to find somebody because he is athletic enough to outrun your 310-pound interior defensive tackle, and then the 2 edge rushers can't keep up with him either. And he has the arm talent and the ability on the hoof to make throws like he did to the back of the end zone, rolling left, almost at the sideline. But the biggest issue that I have with him is so much of what he does. And I hate to bring up Emmanuel Acho, and I hate to bring up the social media quarterback thing with Justin Herbert. But to me, that is where I am still at with Cam Ward. Do I believe in the arm? Absolutely. It's the best arm in this class for my money. And I know that a lot of people really like Garrett Nussmeier, but Nussy can't do half of the things that Cam Ward is able to do once he is off his base. So for me, for my money, he is the best arm in the class.
Probably athletic.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Aller is in this class. He's technically draft eligible, but I think he goes back to school. But no, I think he is the most exciting quarterback in college football. I don't think that you can question it. I think that he is a legitimate Heisman candidate, even though JT and Hunter are historically good. And it is because Ward is carrying that team on his back. Whether I think he has what it takes or has shown me enough to be comfortable with his NFL projection means nothing to the fact that he is carrying that football team to these wins because that defense is not very good.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him and Xavier Restrepo, that team would probably have 2 losses right now.
Yeah.
Sam Brown finally had a little bit of a breakout game. But I do think Ward needs to, and we might not see it in ACC play, but when the time comes in the playoffs, he will not have 4 seconds to throw the football. He will not have 3 seconds to throw the football a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what happens when he can't set up a campfire.
Yeah. I love celebrating awesome college quarterbacks. Like,
yeah,
that's what makes college football so much fun. Like Diego Pavia, awesome college quarterback.
Curtis Rourke.
Yeah, Curtis Rourke, awesome college quarterback. Go back to even Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel had no reason being drafted in the first round. Awesome college. Like, just celebrate guys for being awesome college quarterbacks. And I do think there are some legitimate NFL traits with Cam Ward. Like, that's not to say Cam Ward is just a college quarterback and blah, blah, blah. No, he's got the legitimate arm. It's a rubber band. He can throw it from any angle he wants. He can flip that wrist and it just explodes out of his hand. He's got some nice legs. He's got a good feel of when to tuck and run. Again, he can protect the football quite a bit better, but he's got a good feel. Like, he has NFL traits. NFL traits. This is where the comp that I keep coming back to, and it's not going to be a super kind one, but I mean, it is a second overall pick. So maybe but I think we've seen this before with Zach Wilson at BYU. And it was the COVID year. So everything was kind of weird in the COVID year, but kind of the same stuff. He would dance outside of structure, just flip his wrist. The ball would explode. He'd drop it in a bucket. He all over social media. Everything was Zach Wilson that year. Zach Wilson did this. Zach Wilson did that. Just because he's throwing on the run, throwing dots along the sideline. And then you watch his tape and he can't operate a 3-by-1 concept without looking backside right off the snap. Or if he does, he's late or his feet are busy and he's trying to get out of there with a 4-man rush or a 3-man rush. And I think I see those similar things with Ward. Not to say that once he gets to the NFL level and an NFL coach tells him, hey man, you can't be doing all this stuff anymore. But if that's what makes you good, you don't want that coached out of you to an extent. But if it is reined in, are you still the same kind of talent? Does that make sense? I think Spencer Rattler maybe is a decent example of this too. The difference between his playing style at Oklahoma and South Carolina is night and day. It's a different player. But I also think part of it is at South Carolina, they probably coached out some of that killer instinct that made him Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma as well. So you have to find that balance, and I think that's going to be really hard to strike with Cam. Zach Wilson couldn't find it. Zach Wilson couldn't operate structure at all at the NFL level. He couldn't. He had no idea what he was looking at. He couldn't read the book. So that's kind of the concern I have. Yes, the arm talent is absolutely there. The flash is absolutely there. Some of the throws are unbelievable, but that throw, and again, I'm not going to ding him for that touchdown throw to Samuel Brown, but in an ideal NFL structure, again, they're not going to drop 8 against you at the NFL level, but an NFL coach probably wants to see him hit that check after 3 seconds and just let the check run 20 yards at the sideline. Instead of trying to do a whole bunch of stuff with the football. So that's the kind of stuff that just it bothers, and that's a harsh way to say it, but it irks me. Is just work the concept and get the ball out.
Yeah, and I think the other way that we can kind of look at this on the opposite end of things is Caleb Williams. Because Caleb Williams, also somebody who I had issues with working within structure. And part of that just comes from the Lincoln Riley offense. It's just kind of the way that things go with him. But a lot of times, not hitting the check down, not hitting the first read when it is wide open. And that's exactly where you should be going with the ball. Pre-snap, the defense told you where you should go with this football, and yet he still wants to hit the slot fade on slot hitch or fade hitch, and the hitch is there. The hitch was always going to be there because the corner was playing 12 yards off. There are things that I wish that guys did better, but then somebody like Williams gets to the NFL and he's already having some decent success. And obviously Ward is not on the level of prospect that Williams was, But I do think that arm talent, that athleticism, that flair for the dramatic, and the one thing that he does have a leg up on with Williams specifically is Cam Ward is tough to bring down.
He's a big boy.
He is hard to sack. And so that also helps his play style a little bit more than somebody like Zach Wilson, who is small, and Caleb Williams, who is a little bit small.
Yeah, I completely agree. But again, like talking about this quarterback class and talking about Cam Ward, this isn't a Cam Ward hate show. Like
no, not at all.
Not at all. Well, like we obviously see the arm talent. We see the lower half tools. That improvisational stuff is kind of what has made Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen two of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But the thing with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they've learned how to live in structure and then rip that stuff out when they need to.
And that's the thing, is
absolutely necessary, and not live in it.
Yes, that playmaking ability is an added bonus to your ability to work within structure, because you are going to have to learn and survive working within structure 75 to 85% of the time.
Yes.
You don't have the freedom to create like this is NCAA or like this is Madden on every single play. You can't do it.
Yep. And I think we're learning with the Chiefs is that like 80% of football, like good football, is boring. It's just taking what is there. And I think that's why Patrick Mahomes is so good and the Chiefs are so good. Even with the wide receivers that he's had over the past 2 or 3 years, is like he just takes what's there. And he's not just trying to create explosive plays down the field like he did when he first came in the NFL level. And again, there's been a huge defensive philosophy shift since he first came in the NFL level as well. But like, that's part of the reason why Patrick Mahomes is still good and some of these other quarterbacks have kind of faded after that philosophical shift, is because he understands how to win consistently. And it's just take what you have, man. Just take it. So again, not to say that Ward won't get there, and especially in this quarterback class, which we'll get to it a little bit, breaking down a couple of these bigger games, but there aren't 2 better quarterbacks than Cam Ward in this quarterback class.
Nope. I wanted to believe in the Jalen Milroe ascension, but he has played really bad
UDFA football the past 2 weeks. Yes,
it's been bad.
Yeah, he has played running back football the past 2 weeks.
He was complete. He was completely off this past game. I mean, this past game there was almost nothing to
couldn't hit the shallow cross on clear out. Couldn't hit a shallow cross on clear out. Like just
everything was off.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He just it was like he forgot how to throw the football. Honestly, forgot how to throw the football. It was that was
very very crazy to watch. And now he stacked 2 pretty bad weeks in a row. It's pretty tough to come back from something like that.
He's got to go back to school at this.
He's got to go back to school. Yeah, he's a 4 junior, so he's got 1 more year eligibility. I don't see how he doesn't go back to school. I already know that there are some NFL, and again, I'm bringing this up not as like talking about black quarterback switching positions is always a touchy topic. I'm bringing this up because I've heard intel around the league that like teams have him graded as running back because he's a legit 6 foot 220. Like he's a legit running back and like quarterback in a running back's body. He's a legit 4.3 athlete and he's twitchy. He has great vision. Like I think he would probably want to be one of the first 5 running backs off the board if he were drafted as a running back. Like I think that's how it is. But like, I don't say that to say like, oh, this is the Lamar, Bill Polian thing. But like, no, NFL teams legitimately have him graded as running backs. Some of them legitimately have him graded as running backs. And I think that, man, he's got to go back to school. And I don't want to say he can't come back from this, but it's tough to come back from it in 2024.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of guys that can't come back from it, we should probably move on to that other football game that happened.
Oh my gosh, dude. We were texting back and forth during this game and and I said they were having a mid-off, but I think that was very generous to both of those quarterbacks. They were having a who could shit down their leg less off battle. I don't know what that was. And now we sit in a point where one of them probably goes day 2, but neither of them deserve a day 2 grade. And that's the nature of the NFL. Like players with 4th, 5th round grades go day 2 all the time. I don't see how I put a 3rd or higher grade on Carson Beck or on Quinn Ewers. Speaking of Quinn Ewers, dude, I don't know how I put a generous grade on him at all. Like
what is there? And I know we kind of skirted around this, and we talked about it a little bit when we were on the Brown show, but like I don't understand what like this hype has just kept going from high school, and he has literally never shown us. He has never shown us anything that resembles a round one quarterback. And for the past 2 years, we have seen first round mock drafts all of the time with him in it because he is a big name, because he was one of the best recruits or the best high school recruit ever. And I don't see any of it. It's not there. He's not a prototypically built quarterback. I don't think that his arm talent is as good as 5 or 6 other guys in this class.
I want to talk about that too.
The downfield stuff is horrific and was horrific last year as well. You were watching him underthrow the 4-2-1 guy all of the time, which of course, like you're going to underthrow the 4-2-1 guy every once in a while. Adonai Mitchell, also quite fast, also underthrown all of the time. He's still underthrowing every single deep ball that he throws. And
he's hardly throwing them.
Yes, and he is hardly throwing them because the offense doesn't ask him to do it.
I'm glad you brought up the arm talent thing because I want to talk a little bit about the injuries
and he's not a great athlete.
He's not a great athlete either.
He's fine, but like Baker Mayfield.
People love the arm slots. People love the arm slots. And I think that's a little bit of Grant Nussmeier too, because Grant Nussmeier has some of those arm slots. And he can
Garrett.
throw the ball. Yeah, Garrett. Yeah, Garrett Nussmeier. I keep calling him Grant. Garrett Nussmeier. And I will give Nussmeier that he is one of the better middle of the field throwers in the class as well. So I'll give him that. But I think Quinn's body's breaking down. Like, I legitimately think his body is breaking down. He's been injured 3 years in a row, a shoulder injury and a core injury now this year. Like, the ball in that Georgia game, there was no velocity in the football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even throwing up the hashes, I didn't see any real velocity on that football. And, I mean, looking at his body type, we've talked about this a little bit, but, like, he is rail thin. Like, rail thin. And so there's part of me that thinks that, like, I don't know if his body's handling all of these hits well. I don't know if his body's handling playing college football in the SEC well, because I have seen a pretty steady decline in the amount of velocity that's coming out of the foot, like how the ball is coming out of his hand.
Yeah, I mean, I was just never a huge fan of his arm to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Even like when I was watching him last year, I thought that it was pretty average overall. So
yeah,
for me, I was never like, I never saw it with him. And it's tough to like really, it's tough. It's a tough discussion to have on Twitter in like 240 characters or whatever with casual fans who don't watch the game the way that we do and just hear, ESPN or whatever. They see a mock draft here with his name in it and they're like, oh, he must be good. Texas is the number 1 seed. Like, he must be awesome. But he's really not. And we saw it in this game. He got entirely exposed, got benched, but it was a soft benching. It was just, hey, sit down until halftime, which is insane. I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. But the other part of that is, I mean, if you kept Arch Manning in that game, he would have gotten killed too.
Yeah.
That Georgia front wasn't letting anything happen.
Against one of the better offensive lines.
Against one of the better
that's a wild showing from that defensive line. Yeah, so that's a wild showing.
Unbelievable, especially after the Alabama game, where, I mean, obviously that's a different offensive attack because the quarterback can run a 4.4. But I do think they had a really good answer for this offense. And I think on the, when you look at the other side of the ball with Beck, and Jim Nagy tweeted it out when he was talking to Dane on Twitter. He's just pressing. He's just trying to do too much. To me, it reminds me of Mac Jones when he got to New England. And he was like, okay, I got to be more of a playmaker. And
you're not a playmaker.
Get out of your comfort zone. You get out of your athletic ability. You try to do too much. Carson Beck scrambling more often. I talked about this on the Brown show too. Scrambling more often than Jalen Milroe is this year. He's trying to get on the move. He's trying to make plays with his leg. He's trying to push the ball downfield, and he's not very good at it. He's not seeing the field particularly well. He is throwing way too many interceptable passes. He is going above and beyond cashing checks. What he's doing is cashing checks that his body can't handle.
Yeah, I completely agree. So this is my question for you then. Would you draft Nussmeier first or Beck first right now? If the draft were tomorrow.
Oh, just from what I've seen, Nussmeier.
I think I'm pretty close to there with you.
I think he's got the higher ceiling as a passer. With Nuss specifically, I want to see the accuracy not drop off when he is on the move. But like the way that he plays, and I understand where Dane was coming from with the Tony Romo comp, with some of the stuff that he does in the pocket, being able to kind of maneuver around and manipulate pressure and get rid of the ball. He's got the different arm angles, like you said. He's got a really good arm when his base is underneath of him as well. But we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Like once he gets out of structure a little bit, there's just a huge nosedive in, like, almost literally in how that ball travels down the field. So for me, I need to see more consistency in his ball placement when things are breaking down. And I need him to not want to escape the pocket as quickly as he does sometimes as well.
He's also thrown quite a few balls into traffic over the past couple of weeks as well. Going back, the Ole Miss game, they ended up winning that game in overtime. But, he came out of the third quarter throwing pass after pass into coverage down the hashes and down the field. It's like, dude, are you doing this on purpose? But I think I'm kind of there. Another thing with Nussmeier is, like, anytime he's throwing the ball down the field, he's missing badly. Like in it towards the boundary, he's stealing footballs like 5 yards out of bounds. So he's not even giving these guys chances to make plays. But let's go back to the Georgia and Texas game for a little bit more, and we'll move on to helmet stickers. Let's talk about a little bit about that defensive line of Georgia versus Texas's offensive line. Because we came into this game saying these are two of the best tackles in the draft class, maybe the two best tackles in the draft class, against a couple of potential first-round edge rushers. And I want to start by saying we went over Jordan Reed's mock in our last episode, and I saw Jalen Walker in the first, and I was like, this guy's sawed off. I don't think his body type. I don't know how he fits the NFL level. I don't think he's a first-round pick. I don't see how he goes first round. I might want to retract that here based on that performance that he put up against Texas, because he showed that he can win against NFL caliber offensive tackles in true pass rush situations, and he's not just a Sam linebacker who you want to deploy as a designated pass rusher every once in a while. So my bad, Jalen. My bad.
Yeah, and I'll get to him a little bit more specifically later, but definitely an impressive performance by him. Just having the versatility to play off the ball and be a legitimate threat when rushing off of the edge. Now, oddly enough, I didn't think that his rushes from the interior, when he actually rushed to the interior, which wasn't often, he was more used as kind of a spy most of the time when he was in the middle of the field. And he also drops back into coverage quite a bit, not just in the flat, but in the hook. He's in man coverage a little bit as well. And he has the athleticism to do that as well. But I thought in this game overall, those two edge rushers, specifically him and Michael, I thought had the upper hand. But what I will say is I thought both tackles still showed their chops as well. Like a lot of it, like Walker's first sack, which was right down there by the goal line, that wasn't on Banks. That was a 4 second sack.
Yeah.
It was a 4 second sack. And it was just two dudes absolutely going at it for a couple of seconds. There were a couple of reps where we talk about him being a sawed-off guy, Jalen Walker, at 6'2", 245, but I think he's got some length too. I honestly do. I think that wingspan is pretty good because he got his hand straight into the chest of Banks on a couple of plays and walked him back. And that's what you need. Like, if you want to draft him as an edge rusher, you need to see those types of plays against that type of competition. And for me, that's what I really like to see from him.
I love it. Yeah. Again, we've talked enough about Ewers, but there was a lot of drifting in the pocket that gave edge rushers arcs to the quarterback that they should never have had.
Well, and Sark brought it up. Like, he just didn't look comfortable out there. He wasn't comfortable out there.
No. And then Arch kind of tried to get out of the pocket a little bit too. And that's one of the sacks that Jalen Walker had, is some crazy burst and explosiveness to
closed on him immediately.
And closed on him. So like that's not on Cam Williams or Kelvin Banks either. Still probably the two best tackles in this draft class. Again, if we're talking about Will Campbell's exclusively as a guard, which most everybody is at this point. Probably still the two best tackles in the class, and that just probably speaks volumes to Walker and Williams. And I mean, Williams made Kelvin Banks look absolutely silly on one of those sacks that he had. Like, I don't know if we've ever seen Banks look that amateur in a one rep sequence ever in his entire career. So a healthy Mykel Williams might be the first edge rusher off the board. We haven't seen a healthy Mykel Williams.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So that's the problem. So those Georgia edge rushers really put it on. Man, I think it's probably time to get to some helmet stickers, though. I think we exhausted everything we talked about in the Texas and Georgia game there. But
definitely.
So let's dive into some helmet stickers now that we're already 26 minutes into this episode.
I mean, let me just do my first one because it is Jalen Walker.
There we go.
I'm just going to kind of continue on this real quick. Played 53 snaps. He played a lot of linebacker in this game. He plays a lot of linebacker. He plays most of his snaps in the box most games. But overall, just a really unique player. And I'm not going to give him a Micah Parsons comp because he's not Micah. Micah is smaller, kind of, about the same size, but Micah's got 31-inch arms. What Micah does off the edge really shouldn't be possible for him, but he is dummy explosively. There is no defensive lineman in the NFL like him. Williams. Walker is, in my opinion, probably a linebacker who then on obvious passing downs comes off of the edge or is an interior rusher. Now, I would like to see more from him as an interior rusher because I thought that, at least in this Texas game, it was a little bit unimaginative when he was rushing from the interior. But on the edge, he has a little bit of bend. He has a little bit of ankle flexibility. He's got a little bit of length. I think that he needs a lot more to learn when it comes to a pass rush plan, just because he doesn't rush the passer a lot. And that's what, like, when you look at even somebody like Micah Parsons, was drafted as a linebacker and didn't make that full-time switch until year 2 in the NFL. I think that you could draft Walker to be an off-ball linebacker or be an edge rusher. And just having that versatility in this game, 7 pressures and 16 pass rushing snaps. A few of them were a little bit slower, kind of a merchant of quarterbacks getting out of the pocket a little bit, but also a couple of really high quality ones as well in this game. And just a really fun football player to have on your team.
Yeah. I think I gave Jalen Walker a helmet sticker after the Kentucky game because he had a crazy amount of pressures and sacks in that game too. I'm also going to go with an edge rusher, but I'm going to go back to the Tennessee-Alabama game for my first helmet sticker. And edge rusher James Pierce. We talked about James Pierce a little bit on this podcast earlier about, like, he's not playing many snaps because Tennessee was beating teams 50-0 at halftime pretty early in their schedule. And he was battling through an injury. And I think even last week against Florida, he was on a pitch count because he only played 32 snaps. He was healthy against Alabama. And he put up 9 pressures, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. And 3 stop tackles. Like, he looked like the James Pierce that had people talking about him as the potential first overall pick all summer long. Like, he was getting mocked first overall a lot. And I watched the Florida game last week. I was really impressed, even though he was on a pitch count. They were putting him in the A gap, and he was walking the center back in that game, rushing from the interior. And this game, a little bit, Jalen Milroe probably needs to change up his snap cadence and his snap count because James Pierce was anticipating the snap 95% of the time. Like his get off was crazy in this game. But again, that's kind of who James Pierce is. He's just a really explosive player and a really good and bendy athlete at 6'5", 243. So like that's I think the James Pierce hype train is back on the tracks here a little bit after kind of a slow start. So James Pierce, 2 sacks, 9 pressures in this game against Alabama.
Yeah, I also watched this one because I almost gave him a helmet sticker, and then I ended up giving mine to Walker instead. But Pierce to me is just the quintessential like new age outside linebacker arc rusher. To me, that's what he is. I don't think he'll probably ever be super consistent against the run, but I do think that he can be really disruptive against the run. If he could put a little bit more weight and strength on his frame, maybe, but then you also don't want to do too much and lose out on that flexibility and explosiveness that you have off the edge, because he wins as an arc rusher and he's got some really fun moves off the edge. So really fun player, had a dominant game against Alabama. Who's your second helmet sticker?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Big 12 running back here. They almost pulled the upset off. UCF almost beat Iowa State, who's currently leading the Big 12, and almost continued to cannibalize each other there. But Iowa State pulled it off in the last minute, but not because of R.J. Harvey in this game. And R.J. Harvey's starting to gather a lot of NFL draft buzz. You see a lot of tweets from guys like Dane Brugler, Jim Nagy talking about this kid. He's a fourth-year senior. In this game, I mean, he's already up to 890 yards and 11 touchdowns in the season. In this game, he rushed for 196 and 2 touchdowns. Against Iowa State in a game where UCF probably should have won. Probably should have won this game. 103 yards after contact, 8 missed forced tackles, forced missed tackles, I should say. 4 runs of over 10 yards, 2 of over 15. Like he kept UCF going in this game. Who's had some quarterback instability. They benched KJ Jefferson, and so not a lot going on there at the quarterback position or through the air at UCF, but R.J. Harvey has really carried the load. And this was his first 100-yard game in the past 4 weeks after starting the season with about 500 yards in the first 3 games. So R.J. Harvey, man, good job. You did it.
Yeah, I almost gave a helmet sticker to Bashal Tutton, the Virginia Tech running back. He had 5 rushes of 15 yards or more. He had an 83-yarder. I think he had like a 55-yarder. I watched that game. But a bad fumble in his own territory, and a lot of those yards came from very big holes as well. And he did a good job of finding the holes and where he needed to go, but the fumble took his helmet sticker away from me. Somebody who did get a helmet sticker, somebody whose offense I absolutely cannot stand, but he had a huge game. Jalen Royals, Utah State, wide receiver, number 1 against New Mexico, went 11 of PFF says 11, but there was 12 targets. One of them was batted down at the line of scrimmage. So 100% reception rate for the game, according to them, 188 yards. He had a big downfield catch. I don't think he is a great athlete in the Mountain West. And so I do wonder about how that will translate to the NFL level. Now, wide receiver isn't a position where you necessarily need to be an elite athlete, but I do like to see high-end athleticism for guys who are playing outside of the Power 4. What I will say is against the Mountain West and even against USC, you could see the flashes of his ability to set defenders up and make them miss in a phone booth. They use him in the screen game a lot. They don't have very good quarterback play. They can't really push the ball down the field. He runs a lot of a limited route tree, a lot of stopping routes, just kind of finding open space, getting open against zone coverages, a lot of slants and stuff like that. But he had a very, very nice game where he did actually show a little bit more when it came to the offense that was opened up a little bit in this one. And so big game for him, 188 yards on 11 catches.
I love it. My last one's a wide receiver too. And it's one half of one of my favorite wide receiver duos in the nation, actually. Both draft eligible, both probably going to declare if I had to take a guess. Well, one's a senior, so. But I'm going to go with Caden Prather from Maryland. who is the second part of the counterpart of him and Ty Felton, who
I
really love Ty Felton too. He reminds me a lot of Darius Slayton out of West Virginia. Similar body types, similar explosiveness on the vertical plane. Just a really fun duo. They've got a really fun quarterback too, who's going to transfer up and maybe be the Taylor Heineke next year that I've already talked about in Billy Edwards. But in this game, Caden Prather racked up 111 yards on 9 catches as Maryland upset USC. So that's a pretty big deal. And looking over the tape, man, he could have had a lot more than that. He had the USC defenders in a blender all day. And again, it's doing that at 6'3" and 210. Has some really nice hip sync at 6'3", 210 as well. So I really think Caden Prather is probably a day 2 player. I think both those guys are probably day 2 players at the NFL level. I really like what they bring to the table in this game. And again, he's your stereotypical X. Didn't play any in the slot. Actually played every snap out wide. So, but again, at 6'3", 210, like he's going to win one-on-one matchups in ways you wouldn't expect a guy 6'3", 210 to win. So, Caden Prather, man, and this was really his first. The last 2 weeks have been his like a really strong breakout campaign for him because he had a lot of hype coming into the season. And this was his first 100-yard game. Last week he had 81. But other than that, he hadn't broken 70 yards all season. So hopefully this is the first of many to come for Caden Prather, who again is a wide receiver that I really like between him and Felton out of Maryland.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that game because I watched Jalen Smith last week, and I really like Jalen Smith overall. I think he's a slot at the next level, but he's been playing a lot on the outside, so I want to see that matchup specifically because he is like 5'10", probably maybe 5'11". We'll see how that matchup went. But my third guy, also a little bit on the smaller side for his position. He's not small as in height, but he is very slim, and that is Kansas's corner, Kobe Bryant. Kobe had 3 interceptions in the game against Houston, and while one of them was an absolute gift, the 2 other ones were quite impressive. Tracked the ball downfield on a very deep post and just tracked it like a wide receiver and came down with it as the wide receiver was trying to get him to not come down with it. And the first interception was really impressive. He was in like kind of a quarters leverage look and came off of a deep route, reading QB intentions, and just absolutely jumped a deep over and intercepted the pass. It was a really, really nice anticipatory play by him. And so Jalen Rose. Kobe Bryant, 3 picks in that game. Somebody who has had a little bit of draft hype. I haven't watched a ton of him, nor have I watched much of Kansas outside of Devin Neal. But Kobe Bryant, somebody I'm going to have to keep my eye on a little bit more because those were some really impressive reps from him in this game.
Love it. I love it. All right, there's our 6 helmet stickers for the week. That's all we've got on this episode. We went about 10 minutes longer than we usually do, 8 minutes longer than we usually do, but I think we had a lot to go over, especially I had said in previous, the Friday recap or preview episode that I really thought this was a week we could start to get some definitive answers on some quarterbacks, and I really thought we did. So definitely worth talking about, there. So, but that's it for this episode. We'll be back again, some after draft on Wednesday, we'll figure something out for Thursday, and then a recap of a review of Week 9 on Friday. So until then, this has been the Daft on Draft podcast.